with the new Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes film just around the corner, we're going to look back at the reboot trilogy that consists of Rise of the Planet of the Apes, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, and War of the Planet of the Apes. Now, I was going to do all of them, but I couldn't get a hold of the original ones, which is a shame. And I was going to do the Tim Burton one, but I thought we might as well, if we're not doing the original ones, we might as well not do that one. We're just going to focus on the new rebooted one because Kingdom is part of that. So we're going to start off with Rise of the Planet of the Apes here, and let's get to it. So, Rise of the Planet of the Apes was the reboot of this franchise that was back in 2011. Can you believe that? 13 years ago, this movie came out. And I remember seeing this movie for the very first time. And look, I was someone that did like the Planet of the Apes. I enjoyed the Tim Burton one and I liked the original one. I remember watching it and thinking, this is a fascinating concept as a teenager. But then when this one came along, for me, this just elevated this franchise to another level. And there's reasons to why that is. I think what they did is they didn't just copy and paste and do exactly what the originals did. They didn't copy and paste and do exactly the same as the Tim Burton one. What they did is they gave us this new sort of modernized version of Planet of the Apes where we have someone developing a drug to cure their own family member from Alzheimer's, but then figure out that this drug actually can do a lot more, but then can be fatal towards the humans. So we obviously had this journey with Caesar, who is the ape in here, that has been born with this genetic drug virus that has enhanced his brain, that has given him the ability to think on a high IQ level and increase constantly, become very smart, become basically a human mind inside an ape. Now, we all know how strong apes are in real life. Those things will rip you from limb to limb. So imagine if you put a brain that is able to function like a human brain, that can get smarter and smarter, into that sort of body. Now we're talking about trouble. We are talking about, yeah, we ain't going to be the dominant species for very much longer. And that's what I really like about this film, is the way that they did that. And the connection that they create with you and Caesar. Because it's one thing because in this movie, Caesar doesn't really talk. Now, for instance, we'll go back to the Tim Burton one. When you meet the apes on the planet for the first time, in that movie, when Mark Wahlberg's character lands on that planet, they already know how to speak. They speak fluent English, and it's just like, okay, so this is a planet with apes who are now the top dog. They are at the top of the food chain. They are the smartest. They can talk and that. Humans aren't at the top of the food chain. Here, we are trying to connect with Caesar without him actually being able to speak any language right now. The only language he can speak is sign language. He knows bits and bits because James Franco's character teaches him how to sign language. And I'll never forget the moment in this movie, and I'm pretty sure a lot of you have this moment as well, when we're sitting there and Caesar's in the, he's technically in ape jail. That's really what that whole place is, where he's in the enclosure there, and we see Tom's character come in with the baton, with the electrocution, the zapper that's gonna, the taser, and he's coming in to like beat down Caesar because that's what he does, because he hates these things. And then Caesar grabs it and he says, "Get your filthy paws off me." And Caesar says no. I remember that first time, I don't know why, and I think a lot of people have this same thing. The chills that went down your spine when Caesar says no for the very first time. It was just like this moment in cinema where you sit there and you're like, this is a character that we've become attached to with the journey that he goes on. And then you see him stand up and say no for the very first time. And it's kind of like the face of Tom when he's sitting there looking at him. It's beautifully acted. His face, I believe, was my face as well. I was in total shock. I was like, holy moly. Just the weight and impact of that scene alone. And then it just set everything in motion for the trilogy, which was phenomenal. And you've got to give a lot of credit to Andy Serkis as well, who plays Caesar. And look, it's motion captured, yes, but it's still an art. And throughout the trilogy, you just see how good Andy Serkis is as Caesar, and the way that he moves, how like he studied how they all moved, and so that he could be able to do that. And he brought the presence of Caesar to life through motion capture, which was incredible. Now, Caesar as a character himself, it's just such a great journey from when you first meet him as this lovable, baby ape that you're like, oh, adorable. I want him. I want him to come live with me so we can jump around and play around. And then you start to see him develop. And obviously, he's developing a lot quicker than a human does. And as he becomes smarter in that, you start to see him start to take notice of things. And the biggest one is when they go to the woods, the park with the big red oak trees. And he's there. And then he sees the dog that has the collar and is again walked. And obviously Caesar has one of those on. This is where he starts to feel like, okay, am I a pet? Am I a pet to these people? Like, I thought we were like sort of like equals. Like, I wasn't someone that would be walked in that. And then it's, confirmed in the moment where they go to the car, where there's James Franco's like, come on, time to get in the back of the car. And instead of getting in the boot, he gets in, opens the door, and sits like a normal human being. So you're already starting to see Caesar start to develop and become more human rather than more ape and animal, it's such an incredible, and to do it without any dialogue is a testament to how good the writing is and how good the performances are of these characters and actors and actresses to be able to get this across without any dialogue. It ain't no easy feat, and they managed to do it in this. And then obviously we see when Caesar gets left behind and he has to go in, because there's this real moment where the neighbor, obviously James Franco's dad, has Alzheimer's and it's not working, the virus isn't working on him anymore. So he goes in to the neighbor's car because he thinks, oh, I remember having a car like this must be my car. And he starts smashing it by mistake. The neighbor starts then, getting in his face and then going off at him. And this is where we see Caesar, who's become very attached to James Franco's father. He's super attached to him. So he sees this as like, this guy is just out of line. He's attacking him. So Caesar goes into self-defense mode. I need to get out there and defend my own family. So he goes out there and does that. But obviously people don't see that. They see him as just an animal that is, vicious, that shouldn't be there. And that's what leads him to go into this enclosure. And it's when he goes into the enclosure, you start to see he has hope that, okay, I'm going to get out. Like, this is fun. Look at this playground. I'm going to go have fun. And once he realizes that he's not going to get out, this is where he starts to develop, and you see just how smart he is. He starts to work out, okay, this is what I need to get on my side. This is where I need to do. How do I save everyone? And it's just this beautiful journey that Caesar goes on, that you see from this little baby ape to this person who is inspired now to save his own. And that's what this mission is. When he's in that enclosure, he wants to save every single one in there. Doesn't matter that he gets beat down for the first time when he's there by the other ape. No, he tries to make them. And then when he realizes that they're not as smart as him, he goes and gets that virus to make them all smarter. It's just brilliantly done. It really is. Caesar, in this whole entire trilogy, becomes this brilliant character that becomes very human very quickly, that you're able to relate to. And that's what I think is the strong point here, is as you're watching him grow up, you get attached to Caesar and you understand every motive that he goes through. And then it's that moment at the end where James Franco's standing there in the actual woods and he realizes, look, Caesar, come home. Now we can fix all this. And then Caesar says to him, comes up, hugs him, and says into his ears, Caesar is home. And you just see James Franco is fantastic in this movie. And you just see his reaction to like, okay, he understands where Caesar's coming from. And then you had that mutual respect. And I think that's the key moving forward in the trilogy to Caesar and his relationship with the humans, is this relationship that he has. Because basically, James Franco is basically his father in this movie. And he grew up with him. He, bonded with him. So it's a key motivation to why Caesar acts like he does throughout the trilogy towards the humans and how he feels towards it. Because in this movie, he doesn't want to kill the humans. And he says that to them as they're going through the bridge. Don't kill the humans. Like, he's like, no, 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 no. We don't kill humans. We just want to live in peace with the humans, that we don't have to hunt each other or anything like that. And then obviously as you get in the trilogy, things happen and, that's what happens. But this movie, I thought the cinematography is great. It still holds up to today as well. It's just beautifully shot, beautifully written. And I think this is just a great start to this reboot of a franchise. If you're going to reboot a franchise, this is how you do it. You start off with a movie like this that just sets the tone, sets the realistic, like this one is definitely more realistic than the other Planet of the Apes. This one you feel like, okay, this feels like this could actually happen right now. Because, obviously, us humans, we like to experiment with things. And, we like to create new drugs and viruses and stuff like that. And this could happen. This could potentially happen. But I think Rise of the Planet of the Apes is the start that it needed and the start that it got that now elevated this franchise and brought it back into existence. Because, let's be real, I don't think a lot of people in today's society have seen the original Planet of the Apes or seen the Tim Burton one. I think this was the first introduction to them, and now we're starting to see this franchise come back to life. And I think it's all because of this trilogy and because of this movie. This was the important movie. This one had to land, had to stick, and they did. They executed it well. So I really enjoyed this movie. And yeah, so let me know what you guys think of Rise of the Planet of the Apes. Do you guys love this movie? Do you guys not? Smash it down in the comment section below. Smash that like button. Click subscribe. And I'll see you guys next video. Until then, stay safe and peace out.